Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Thursday to you and your family. We're going to take another look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on, of course. Help, kind of understand where we're at with the overall sense of things here, right? Because yesterday absolutely came down to test that support level there. In fact, that support level we hit yesterday was a, 1 month high. So we've tested our 1 month high yesterday and got a nice little bounce off that. It's a 29,800 range. So good news about that, we took some healthy profits as a community. We took a nice 15% in ETH, 20% from Bitcoin, and of course 31% for that same ETH trade hitting our second profit target. So things were good yesterday, of course. Now we got to wonder if this is going to sustain. Is that going to be able to maintain itself? That's kind of what we're going to look at here today. We're looking for invalidations, things that kind of confirm that this downtrend is either over or if it might continue. Okay, so again, just some things to look at. So if you're new to the channel, thanks again for watching. Hope you learned something here today. You want to become a better trader, CryptoCash.tech is the site. As per usual, help us grow our Twitter community. Link down below for that. And also this exclusive event here that was just published here yesterday from my BingX affiliate there. We got a deposit bonus of $50 with a $50 deposit. So pretty straightforward there. And once you get 3,000 USDT volume, which is really easy with trading futures, by the way, you get a $100 bonus. So this link is only available till July 31st. Be sure to check that out. That's available in my Discord, and obviously links down below too. If you have questions, go ahead and message us direct. So what we're going to talk about here is a few things. Let's just jump right into the backend data here and kind of see what's going on. There's some important stuff to recognize because yesterday we saw some things here. So they're just going to jump right into the amount of longs being closed yesterday versus opened. So a lot of longs were closed yesterday when the price came down to that 29,800 mark. That is pretty obvious. Those could be longs getting squeezed out, for lack of better terms. But the bottom line is that there was a lot more shorts yesterday than longs. Today, the inverse, of course. We're seeing a lot of shorts closing their positions, and longs wouldn't necessarily, I'm not necessarily saying they're opening their long positions, but mostly shorts are closing their positions. So I think shorts are starting to get a little scared that the price action has been maintaining this level for roughly a week now. And that is a cause for concern, at least for shorting, right? Now, am I under the do I still feel like we're going to see the price come down a little bit? It would make sense to kind of fill that little 29,000 gap, for lack of better terms. There's no CME gap, but there is essentially, the price just jumped up too fast, too quick, right? And in most cases, according to Elliott Wave and a few other theories, you can kind of tell that the price action is more likely to correct itself here soon than it would be the other way around, okay? So what we want to look at here, of course, is the open interest. So let's take a quick peek here. Excuse me. Allergies today. Net longs here, what we want to look at is kind of a few things. First of all, our early longs are almost at break even, 30,400. So they got in there sometime overnight. This is probably some of our Asian markets there. We can also see here as well, we've got, about 30,650. Those are effectively in the red. So longs are kind of averaging out to be break even. Shorts, on the other hand, are looking pretty strong right now. At least those got in at 30,700. Unfortunately, I was asleep at that time, but had I woken up a little earlier today, would have been able to catch that top there. In fact, we saw it pretty clear as day with the stochastic RSI, giving us that indication it was overextended on the hourly. We'll talk about that in a minute here, but the bottom line here is that the overall sentiment is that the price actions, again, shorts are closing their positions, and the price action is kind of staying right there at that 30,500. So if it does maintain that level today or higher, there's a great chance we could see that invalidation of the short positions and the price action might continue. Yeah, so again, just some things to look at. Let's quickly peek at the weekly here. I want to kind of touch on this because I see this being talked about a lot, and I just want to kind of mention it. Yes, we did have roughly a month ago a golden cross here, if you will, for where the 50 intersects with the 20. Okay, same thing as well with the 200 on the weekly, right? So generally speaking, those are positive signs. The key takeaway is that those are just below the price action, and those are going to be support levels. So I just want to reaffirm that 26,000, 27,000, that range there should absolutely be the bottom if the price were to pull back. Okay, so again, I'm not calling for the price to drop like a rock to 25,000. I do think though that 28.5 to 29.5 range that should be retested in the relative near future. Something to also note too, this week so far, this is why it's important to close at 30,500 or higher. We have this doji candle forming. Anytime you see a doji candle at the top of an increase here, the likelihood of the price pulling back is greater. Now again, there's no guarantees because you've seen here before we've got double, triple doji there, and the price continued higher. So there's no doubt that it's not 100%. But candlestick patterns exist for a reason, and doji candles are typically signs of reversals in most cases. Okay, so I do hope the price breaks free and continues higher. but I also feel like this was too swift of an update or increase rather, that the price action should pull back. All right, so let's take a quick look at the daily here and kind of see what's going on. We can see stochastic RSI is coming down. RSI got rejected off of 70. All normal stuff there. Good news is, though, we still got the money flow index high. So money is still coming into this coin. That's why it hasn't dropped any lower than 30,000 yet, or 29.8. So that's a positive sign. We've also got some back-end stuff with ETFs coming around. And the overall sense here is, even though we're losing momentum on the MACD, we're still very much bullish at this level. And what I mean by bullish is just that 30,000 is holding fairly strong. We should have lost it a while ago if it wasn't a point of a prize point, if you will, because 30,000 is a pretty big deal. It's kind of like a line in the sand here. Staying above 30,000 is huge. Once we lost it previously, we had some difficulties on the way down. That said, though, overall sense here, we're still overextended, and it would make sense for the price to still pull back. So the daily doesn't really tell us too much different than we saw yesterday. All the same indicators are here kind of telling us what's going on. That's why we look at smaller time frames to identify what's going on, or larger time frames to get the overall sentiment, right? The overall sentiment right now, I would say, is fairly neutral at 30,000. It's kind of our average true range / resistance, at least within the last week. So if we can kind of extract that this week has been stuck on this range here, what are we going to see on the smaller time frames? Well, let's kind of head and try to identify that. So first of all, we look at RSI. We're back up over 50 on the RSI. We dipped down below yesterday. That's a positive sign in the overall sense of things. Money flow index is coming down. That's never truly great, at least in the short term here, because it really just implies that there's less buying pressure at the 30,500 level or higher. We can also see the MACD trying to converge. I'm going to emphasize the word trying to, because anytime you see this happening, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's not just an inevitability for it to swing upwards. The price has to go up and break that key resistance at 31,000 for that to happen. Keep in mind, this is an MACD FU on the horizon. I laugh every time I say that because it's just a term I use to politely convey that the moving average convergence divergence either happens or it doesn't. Because a lot of folks get stuck on the thought process that just because it's coming up like this, it's going to happen. It'll oftentimes reject and come back down, and that's what I refer to as an FU. I'm sure you can understand what that means. Fill in your own words with that. So what I'm getting at here is that we haven't converged officially yet. We've got the RSI effectively swinging upwards, telling us positively that this is an uptrend, but it's also starting to swing down, or hasn't fully hit its top yet, right? So when you don't see that confirming factor, you don't take a trade. That's really what it boils down to, because you're basically gambling at this point. Again, this is a 4-hour time frame. This is a swing trader's perspective. There's no real science here to tell us, hey, go long or short. We're starting to see parallel highs, and we have previously lower lows, okay? Again, that is somewhat of a candlestick pattern, but it still hasn't come to fruition yet. So I'm not going to jump the gun and just go crazy long or short. We took healthy profits on our short from yesterday. Those are still open, but we've taken 80% of our profit already. We're letting the rest ride. It'll close out at a trailing stop loss that adjusts with the targets as they're hit. So keep in mind, if you're part of my community, that automated system, just let it do its thing. It's all good. That being said, though, at this point on the hourly, we want to kind of identify if there's any specific proof in the pudding here. Now, as talked about yesterday, range-bound activity with Ichimoku Cloud, not all that super valid because we keep going up, dipping above, dipping below, or whatever you want to call it. It's really not doing what it's supposed to. In other words, this is more of a momentous indicator or a trendly indicator, if that is such a word, and is supposed to be able to tell us the trend. Right now, we are range-bound, and that is it. Okay, 30,000 to 29,800 is effectively the range we're seeing right now. Okay, that's really it. But TD sequential can tell us we're overextended, which we pretty much are. We hit this overextended state here previously, where we hit one series of nines plus about 3 to 4 candles. So when you see that, reversal is fairly common to occur, right? A lot of times the price will turn itself around. Now, granted, previously you could see that was a 9 and it continued lower. This could very well be a 9 and it continues upwards, right? So again, there's no proof here that that's going to happen. But when you see, just say hypothetically, 2 9s in a row, that's a case in point when you oftentimes will see that reversal. Okay, this basically just implies you've had a full trading day's worth of bullish momentum, and that has to be corrected somehow. So this is a nice little correction here. I like that. So I mean, in truth, the price could very well continue higher. If I recall correctly, stochastics on the 15 is telling us that it should continue higher from here based on that dip that we're seeing. That said, though, if we see another 5 hours from now, coincidentally, that's close to when today's trading day is going to be open, or closed rather, we should see somewhat of a pullback at that point. So to me personally, I'm going to pay closer attention to the market closing here, the traditional US markets closing, and see what happens with that first. Okay, that should put us at a 9 on TD sequential if it continues higher. If it continues lower, then hey, our short we already have open is getting closer to the next profit target, right? So again, nothing terrible or crazy there, right? So for the most part, the hourly isn't telling us a tremendous amount, and we can kind of see here as well with the range. We're hitting that resistance range, right? So right there at 30,600, that's roughly where the most amount of volume is accumulating for this trading period. And in this last 24 hours, we can see that that is a good indication that the price could essentially be hitting its resistance level there. Because oftentimes this is what determines range-bound activity is the average profile for the day, and we're starting to see here that there is a range right there between 30,200 and 30,600, kind of a sweet spot, if you will. So if you long and short from either direction, essentially, you should be successful, right? Again, that's kind of what we're looking at there for the hourly. So once again, not truly confirming any factors there. When we take a look at this here, we can see Bollinger Bands giving us a sell signal, so the price could very well continue to go lower. We also want to acknowledge here that which one was it? I think we're going to take a look here at the stochastics, because this is where things kind of get interesting. And this is, I like to use stochastics on the 15 personally, at least for good day trading entries. And we can see here that this downswing right here was an optimal place to get in. So it is kind of telling us that the price should continue higher from here. We also have a MACD potential convergence on the horizon. So in truth, on the short term, it would make sense for the price to continue higher to retest either 31,000 or 30,600, 700 range, and then potentially reject from there. But the key takeaway here is that we are having difficulty crossing this level right here. So 30,750 is a point of contention, and we cannot seem to close above that, in the overall sense of things. Because again, you take a look at the daily here, we can see the candlestick closure, 30,700. There's really no way the price has been able to close above that. But you got to recognize the more often you test a resistance, the more likely it is to break too, right? We talked about that yesterday to the downside. We're retesting that 30,000 level multiple times. That's why it made more sense yesterday that the price is going to continue lower. But we had that strong bounce off of the monthly high, which is 29,800, and the price should continue higher from here. So again, I'm looking for a validation. Validation for a bullish trend would be a closure about 30,700 today. So if we get just say 30,800 or higher, there's a decent chance we're going to be able to see the price continue higher. If we come up to that level and reject, just say here today, then I think we're going to see the price come down to retest 30,000 until we effectively break this range. Okay, so this is basically just range trading. That's all it is. Buying the dip and selling the top. And inverse, of course, if you're shorting. So that's essentially what we're looking at here. Sounds like somebody may be here. I got the alerts going off there. Probably pretty much all we have to talk about here today. So thanks again so much for joining me here. Hope this was a good learning experience for you. We'll cover this again here tomorrow. Be sure to, again, use the link down below for this new exclusive event for BingX to register for that. So once again, we have copy trading. Just to quickly touch on that, we have copy trading here, of course. This is completely optional, but just a small account that I'm growing. And we so far have a couple of copy traders here. And it's looking to be a pretty good experience. So really cool stuff there. Check that out. That's just kind of a little side thing. But more importantly, if you want to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is a site. Welcome all the new members, of course, to the community. Thanks again. We'll look forward to work with you. Have a good rest of your day. See you soon.